we present Adventure Tomorrow. The cameras of today are recording the history of the future. This is the documentary of our times and of times to come. And now on Adventure Tomorrow, Dr. Klein traces the very fast life of Mickey Thompson, the only man alive to travel over 400 miles per hour in a racing car. We'll meet the man, we'll see how he set his record. And here, the fastest tongue in the West, Dr. Martin L. Klein, Director of Research, Communications Control Corporation.
Thank you very much, Peter. We're doing tonight's program especially for those of you who are going to the opening of the baseball season tomorrow. Now, as I understand it, they're not quite ready to handle the traffic. They've told everybody to start turning out at about 10 in the morning, which means that you'll probably make about 400 feet an hour as things will go tomorrow. That's quite a way from 400 miles an hour in an automobile, but believe it or not, it has happened. What's more, it's one of our native sons here in Los Angeles who did it, and we expect that he'll come whizzing into the studio if he can apply the brakes fast enough during the next few minutes. We're going to tell you the story of Mickey Thompson tonight. You're going to sit with him, and you're going to ride in an automobile going over 400 miles an hour, believe it or not. And now we turn to that story which we call, appropriately, The Fastest Man on Wheels. Arena for high-speed auto racing, such as Mickey Thompson is known for, is Bonneville Salt Flats near Salt Lake City, Utah. Here, winter rains and summer sun combine to provide a flat and level race course 11 miles long. Solid salt. To this sun-baked phenomenon of nature have come the racing greats over the years. Cobb, Graham, Campbell. Men have died here striving for the goal reached by Thompson in the late summer of 1960 to surpass 394 miles an hour set by Cobb in 1947. In 1959, Thompson had come close with a speed of 367 miles an hour. To ordinary men, this would have been fast enough, but the magic 400 brought Mickey back for another go.
Only a few years ago, he worked as a pressman for the L.A. Times. Speed has always been his preoccupation. Sports cars, power boats, skiing, skydiving, he's tried them all.
His car is called Challenger 1. Built especially for this run, it has to be carefully designed not to fly. 400 miles an hour is about as fast as the pursuit planes with which we won World War II. 400 miles an hour is twice as fast as the scorching touchdown of the X-15. And the Challenger must survive 400 miles an hour with all four wheels on the ground. The bulk of the Challenger 1 is made up of engines, 4 of them. Each Pontiac engine drives one wheel. Each has been supercharged to put out an incredible 750 horsepower. That totals 3,000 horsepower available. The gearing, too, would drive a Pasadena lady to distraction. Mickey doesn't get out of low gear until 210 miles an hour, and second takes him to more than 300 miles an hour.
Although the Challenger stands little more than 3 feet high, it would never qualify as an economy compact. It burns a special racing fuel at the rate of about 2 gallons per mile.
It's not built for comfort either. The specially designed Goodyear tires carry 100 pounds of air pressure, and there's no suspension system at all. It's a bone-rattling ride all the way. In August 1960, Thompson began preliminary runs to see if conditions were right for the record try. Beside his own condition and that of the car, he must worry about the salt surface and the weather. Both of these factors turned out to be troublesome. An especially dry summer had left the salt rough, and this kind of racing can't be safely done in winds over 5 miles an hour. Thompson elected to make a trial run to see just how bad the problems were. For this, the 4 gas tanks of the 4 engines get their fill. On this run, Mickey will only go a couple of 100 miles an hour or so, just to warm up the track. He may not even get out of second gear.
In Challenger 1, Thompson rides in a semi-reclining position. It's a small item, but it helps keep the center of gravity low. It improves stability. A standard part of his pit crew is Judy, Mrs. Thompson. The children stay at home, but she's on hand to clock his hazardous progress.
Now Chief Mechanic Fritz Voigt drives the push car, and the Challenger is off and running. plane would be flying at this speed. In the Challenger, Thompson views the course through tiny 2-inch square windshields. He follows a black line painted on the salt. It's his lifeline. He drives an 11-mile course. The 5th mile is measured by electronic timing instruments. Here, records are made and broken. At the end of the fast-run twin braking chute, slow the Challenger to about 90 miles an hour, where ordinary brakes take over.
Turn now to our story of the Challenger 1 and the push car, Dr. Klein.
Those of us who are in the business community of Los Angeles drive to work at between 40 and 50 miles an hour. The gentleman sitting next to me is in the business community in Los Angeles. He operates several businesses. The significant difference is his name is Mickey Thompson, and he drives to work, or he did drive to work, at 406 miles an hour. Is that right?
Similar, close to that, yes.
I'd like to ask one question that occurs to me. Why do people want to go fast? Do you find this in itself interesting, or are there some side things? Is there a definite reason that you can put your finger on?
Well, 2 or 3 things. It started as a lifelong ambition with me at a very young age, and of course there's always the monetary green stuff that comes along, plus the fact that I think you accomplish something, and it gives you a lot of self-satisfaction.
Well, now, you actually are in the business now of building automobiles, aren't you? Not the kind of automobiles that I buy or most people buy, but you do build automobiles.
Yes, we do build racing cars. I did not particularly want to get in that business, but we're in the process of building some race cars for Indianapolis, and I couldn't get anybody to build it the way I wanted it, so we started building them at one of our shops.
Now, is it true, in all candor, is it true or is it not true that those of us who drive conventional automobiles gain something from the fact that they hold races in Indianapolis, that people like yourself drive 350 and 400 miles an hour? Or is it a stunt, really?
No, I think if the general public actually knew just how much gain they do get from race cars, they'd be completely amazed. The majority of the major auto manufacturers, and such as tire manufacturers and anything else, watch us very closely and put millions of dollars a year into the development of race cars for their own personal gain.
So they have a way then, is it true that they have a way of testing out new ideas under very difficult conditions, and they can incorporate some of these ideas into ordinary automobiles?
Very definitely. I'd say the majority of all the advancement in automobile has been done on a racetrack or on test tracks.
In conventional racing, what does a normal race run, and how fast? About 136 to 150 miles an hour?
Well, of course, it depends on what type. Now, at Bonneville, at Indianapolis, they average around 145 around the track, and they run as high as 175 down the straightaways.
Is it possible that will get faster? It seems to get faster every year.
I hope this year it's going to be faster with our new cars.
Is that right? Well, that's amazing. What I'd like to do now is show you some more pictures of this remarkable gentleman before we hear more from him, and we'll turn back right now to our story, which we call The Fastest Man on Wheels, Mickey Thompson.
Following the test run we saw earlier, Mickey Thompson was faced with a difficult decision. The salt was too rough for safety on an all-out run. How do you fix up 11 miles of salt? The answer is that you do it with lots of dedication and good, hard work.
While the car was pulled back to Wendover, Utah for more adjustment and fine-tuning, the crew and a little band of speed enthusiasts set out to groom the race course. The technique: little water with salt and spread it in the holes and cracks just like cement. Under Utah's sun, it dries like concrete in a matter of hours. This is part of the painstaking detail that goes into a triumph at the edge of the impossible. Mile after mile, the team repair the ravages of summer heat.
The Utah State Highway Commission aids the project by sending a specially designed drag rail to polish the surface of the track.
And finally, the black stripe is relayed, straight as an arrow. On a run, Mickey follows it like a gun sight, aiming his car through the measured mile. During the 3 weeks it took to prepare the track, the mechanics were not idle. Taking a page from the aircraft designer, they fastened strips of yarn to the Challenger to study the high-speed airflow. Results, they installed a spoiler to help prevent unwanted lift. Meanwhile, the timers from the United States Auto Club calibrate their electronic measuring instruments. This organization officially times all records in this country, and their standards are high. They must be. The Challenger will flash through that measured mile in just about 9 seconds. It will be traveling nearly 7 miles in a minute. And now it is September 9th, 1960. This is to be the day of the fast run. The Challenger and its handlers are on the Salted Dawn. For the nth time, they check every detail. The braking parachutes are triggered from inside the car. Test them. Without them, the Challenger would coast 50 miles, or as far as the nearest rock in its path. Heat and salt are poor conditions for precision machinery. The chief mechanic keeps the wheel bearings packed in ice until a run. Then he inspects them and the tires as they are mounted on the car. These tires, you'll see in a moment, are specially built by Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company for the Challenger. Less than 2.5 feet in diameter, they carry tread rubber thinner than ordinary cardboard. We'll learn more about them in just a moment.
Here again, Mickey Thompson, Dr. Klein, and the tire.
Thank you very much, Peter. We have before us a model of the Challenger, which is a model of the car you drove. Incidentally, this is a handmade model. I don't think it's available yet. But can you show us on this, what are some of the features of this car? We saw them in the film, but maybe we can see them close up in this model.
Well, we're very fortunate in having this model with us here. It was given to us by Revell. Incidentally, Revell is going to make kit models of this car, which will be introduced in a very, very short time for the hobbyists.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, there's a very exacting detail here.
Wow.
It gives the 4 fuel tanks here, and the 4 engines, and the Goodyear tires, and our water, and it even gives the driver's compartment and the whole works back here. So it's a very exacting model, and as I say, it will be available.
You sit way in the rear when you drive this car?
Yes, sir. We sit right back here in the very rear of the car underneath this steel roll bar here. The parachute is placed here, which is ejected by a projectile when we get underway.
Incidentally, is each of these engines, these I presume are the engines, are each of them connected to a separate wheel?
Well, theoretically they are. These are Pontiac engines here, and the front and the rear are connected separately. The 2 front engines are connected to the 2 front tires, although there's a common axle in between that governs the engines together.
Now, you don't knock cars out like these or the Indianapolis cars. These are actually hand-built, aren't they?
Yes, sir, they are hand-built. I personally built this one all myself.
Did you build this car, too?
I did, with the help of such people as Kenny Drosbeck and Fritz Voigt, and no one individual makes a car like this. It's a complete full team, and I have the best team of friends that work with me.
I might ask in connection with that, are there a group of people who spend their lives working on racing cars? Is this sort of a hierarchy or a group of people who find this sufficiently interesting?
I might say yes. When we first started this, all the time was donated towards the building of this car. However, since this time, we've organized a racing group who now we have a shop in Long Beach that we just specialize in building race cars, such as these Indianapolis cars that are coming up. We have body men such as Don Borth and many, many more experts, Bob Bubenek, and just many I can name that help us with such cars as this.
Is Los Angeles, where we are now living, is this the seat or the home of most of the racing car activity as it is the electronics industry?
I would say very definitely it is the home of racing. Of course, the only other places, Sebring, Florida, and Indianapolis, Indiana. However, the majority of the cars for those races are built right here in Southern California.
Now, you have some samples of tires over there. I presume this is an idea of how we benefit, people like myself, from the kind of work that you do.
Well, I might mention the fact that this is a tire here that costs, I would say, about $25, $30, a premium tire. And this tire right here costs almost $250,000 to develop, about $30,000 a set. This is what Goodyear spent, or does spend each year in developing tires for our Challenger.
Those are special tires that were used on your car, similar to that?
Yes, I might say that a lot of the kickoffs from these tires were used to land our faster jets and so on and so forth. So as you can see, it very definitely has helped passenger miles by going 400 miles an hour on this car. Goodyear has overcome many, many thousands of problems.
What are the significant differences? This has no tread on it, I notice. Is it intended to be that way?
Yes, as you can see, this has approximately a half inch of tread, 7/16 of tread, and this has approximately 20 thousandths, which is about the thickness of a business card or slight cardboard. The centrifugal force from this tire spinning actually makes 1 ounce of rubber weigh over 9,000 pounds
Wow.
of the centrifugal force. Carries over 100 pounds of air pressure, and it's a very, very good development.
Well, now I think we'll give you an opportunity to actually see this tire and Mickey Thompson as he made the sensational run. We'll turn now back to our story, which we call The Fastest Man on Wheels, Mickey Thompson.
9:30 a.m. The wind, which had blown up 12 miles per hour, has died away. Conditions are as good as they're going to be today. Thompson and the chief steward confer, then make their decision. Try for the big one.
When Mickey aims the Challenger down that black line, he will have just 4 miles in which to decide whether to drop a lead foot on the accelerator or to abort and try some other time. 4 miles pass very quickly in this business. For driving, he wears a leather suit. This helps protect him in case of fire, but in the desert heat, it also gives him a portable steam bath, especially after he's locked in the confines of the cockpit. Right now, the actions are deliberate. The need for speed comes later. There is a ritual of shoehorning into that seat that borders on the superstitious. But it's a ritual tinged with safety at every step. The seat belts have a purpose. The position of the driver, as we said, have a purpose. Even the steel headrest is unique, as we'll see. Judy is on hand for moral support and one last kiss. Mickey always wears a small breathing mask. In the past, this precaution has saved his life. Locked in as he is, there is no escape from smoke or fumes in case of an emergency. Now his helmet is fitted in behind an armored steel retainer. He virtually becomes a part of this car.
In the course of his career, Thompson has fractured most of his bones and has been given up by doctors as a hopeless case on at least one occasion. He estimates that he has traveled about 300 miles at speeds over 350 miles per hour.
Before he leaves this cockpit again, he will have claimed the title, Fastest Man on Wheels. And now ride with us and watch how it happened. Observers at the mile markers report in by telephone. Judy traces his unseen progress with a stopwatch. He's decided to go for broke. The camera had to move fast to keep up with him, and then it's over. The drag chutes ease the Challenger down to manageable speeds. His top speed, 406.6 miles an hour, a record for the one-way run. Misfortune struck on the return trip. A drive shaft broke, and Thompson was unable to qualify for the two-way record. But on that day, and I remember it well, the nation was proud of Mickey Thompson in 1960. It takes a special mixture of skill, of judgment, and nerve to be the best in the racing business. Someday his record will be broken, possibly by himself. But the point remains that by pushing machinery and materials to their very limit, valuable information filters back that helps improve our automobiles of tomorrow. And so from the Fastest Man on Wheels, a legacy of progress for the Sunday drivers of Los Angeles and the world. And in addition to holding that record, Mickey just made another record, I believe it was last week. And that was he won in his class in the Mobile Gas Economy run, and his wife, Judy, whom you saw in the pictures, was also in the Mobile Gas Economy run and also won in her class. So you just can't say what you say about the lady drivers. Well, now that you've made some more records. What are you going to do in the near future? You mentioned something about racing cars for Indianapolis.
Well, our immediate plans call for, and actually we're trying to design a completely different type of car for the Indianapolis races, which is May 30th. And it's a new spectacular thing using a Buick engine, a stock production engine such you have in your compact cars. Of course, it's a project that everybody is sort of laughing at because, you know, the Offenhausers have arranged and been the winners since 1927, but we have a lot of faith, and the only thing I think will beat us is time. We don't know whether we can get the cars ready in time, but we're certainly trying.
Do you know who will drive it yet?
Yes, we have just named Chuck Day as one of the drivers for the Harvey Aluminum Special, and then we right now are dickering with two other drivers, and I can't mention their names, but I think in next week we'll have them signed up too.
Will any of them be local fellows from this part of the country?
Yes, we hope that one will be very local, very close.
Well, I don't want to pry because this sounds like dealing with opera stars, apparently, and it's considerably more dangerous than singing in the opera. I have only one last comment left now that I've met you. Next week, I would like to bring in my car because I need the brakes adjusted. And the only thing left to do is to let the program get adjusted, and to do that, I turn you over to Peter Hansen. Thank you, Mickey Thompson.
Thank you very much.
The program you have just seen is based on fact 100%, no fiction used, no fiction necessary. The clock is our only time machine. Do be with us again next time for Adventure Tomorrow with Dr. Martin L. Klein, Director of Research, Communications Control Corporation.